What's going on, folks? Nate here at Dyno Works, and today we are going to answer a question that I am asked at least 100 times a month by customers all over North America and sometimes all over the world. And you folks often are looking for our opinion on what the best exhaust system is out there for your motorcycle. And here's the honest truth. I absolutely hate that fucking question. Because whether you have a full toach, which is what we've got on the bike right now, or you've got the rather expensive full Akrapovic exhaust system for this bike, or you've got one of these guys from M4, or any of the other name brand exhaust systems on something modern, like this brand new GSX-8S behind me, from a performance standpoint, once the ECU is flashed and the mapping in the ECU is properly matched to your setup, the difference is almost nothing. I've got 3 dyno graphs up there on our screen with those 3 exhaust systems on this GSX-8 and some TST velocity stacks and our custom ECU mapping. And the power curves are damn near identical. Now again, obviously there are some very small differences. If we're looking right here at about 5,700 RPMs, yeah, one of them dips down about 1.5 foot-pound of torque and 2 horsepower from the other, but then that same system's actually making more than the one that did better than it at like 9,200 RPMs and 9,400 RPMs out there in the over-rev. And by the time you're actually at peak power, right at 8,000 RPMs, they're all within like 1/2 of 1 horsepower, no matter where you look out here. Now, honest to God, that is the exact same thing we see with almost every modern motorcycle. When you have a proper, high-quality full system, or a 3/4 system in some cases, exhaust system on the bike, once the bike's properly tuned, the outputs are this close to each other. From a performance standpoint, or a tuning standpoint I should say, the only big difference between any of those 3 systems that I just showed you, which again are all making within like 1.5 to maybe 2 at the most horsepower of each other, is the fuel mapping necessary to achieve proper target air fuel ratios when you have these systems on the bike. The toach system, for example, takes 6% more fuel at the top end than the Akrapovic system does. I couldn't tell you why. They're within 1/2 horsepower of each other, but the exact actual airflow characteristics through the engine with that exhaust on there demand an additional 6%. On the M4, there are some spots where it takes 7% more through the mid-range than the others do. On the Acra, it's within 4 and 5, but they are different. Now, when the bike's properly tuned, you're not going to feel the difference of 1.5 horsepower. But you certainly will feel the difference of an 8% lean or rich condition in the bike, because all of a sudden it won't be making the power it's supposed to or running the way it's supposed to. And that is why I spend 6 to 8 hours in this room every frickin' day building custom ECU mapping for every bike and exhaust and intake combination that we can get our hands on. And we're fortunate enough to be able to buy most of the new models right when they come off the showroom floor, and we've partnered with high quality exhaust companies that will just send us their products, and we'll go ahead and get everything tested and built in every combination we can possibly imagine on these bikes to be able to offer you guys proper custom ECU mapping to match your specific setup. So when you guys ask us what exhaust system is best for my bike, I honestly can't answer that. In almost all cases, there's not one that stands out above the rest through every part of the RPM range. As long as you have proper custom fuel mapping for your specific setup on the bike, you're gonna be happy with most systems out there these days when it comes to performance. If you want to talk about sound and you want to talk about appearance, I definitely can't answer that for you, because that is all completely subjective stuff that you're just gonna have to decide for yourself. But what I can tell you is that the proper quality tuning in your ECU is by far the most important part of your specific setup. And that's where we come in. Because I can guarantee for every bike that we support on our website, you will not find higher quality custom intake and exhaust specific ECU mapping, period. The real question that you guys should be asking, whether it's us or any other tuner out there, is do you have specific ECU mapping built for your exhaust system and your intake on your motorcycle? Because that is absolutely the most important part of getting your bike to run and ride properly once you've gone ahead and modified the intake and the exhaust system on it, especially on these newer Euro 5 compliant models. Because again, if you go ahead and compare how this bike was stock to how it is now, the differences are huge. If you take a look at that graph there, you can see how this bike was when it was bone stock, which is the red line there, and how it's sitting right now, which is the blue line, run 14. That's, again, with the full Tosh exhaust system installed, our custom ECU mapping for that exhaust, and the TST velocity stacks, and the airbox lid, and the air filter from DNA. And it's just not even the same bike. So, of course, the ECU mapping needs aren't going to be even remotely close to what they were when it was stock. So once you've got your new bike, and you're looking to maximize the performance of it, you've picked an exhaust system, you've picked an intake, go ahead and head over to tooldynoworks.com and take a look at our ECU flashing service for your bike. Because if you see one listed for your bike, I can guarantee you will not find higher quality custom ECU mapping anywhere else. And please don't get lost in the weeds of, well, this manufacturer's graph shows 1 more horsepower here, or 1.5 more horsepower there, or 2 more horsepower down there. Because once it's properly tuned and dialed in, it just doesn't matter. You will be happy with your bike with a proper high quality exhaust system and intake, and our ECU flash to match, guaranteed. And as always, if you have any questions about tuning your bike or any sort of performance modifications for your bike, never hesitate to email us at support@tooldynoworks.com, because we are always happy to help.